Hey, what's up everyone? I've been wanting to make a fish farm in this world for a while now. I'm really into like aquascaping and terrariums and stuff like that in real life. I thought it'd be cool to try and recreate some of that here in Minecraft. Also, sorry if this intro was weird. You know how much I hate starting these videos. I'm gonna try to build some kind of passageway that leads down to a dock area. We'll see how that goes. By the way, I'm definitely not building this on my own. I'll probably end up following a tutorial at some point because, I'm not that creative. But yeah, while I'm working on this whole fish situation, I figured we could go through some Reddit stories I found. I've got a few good ones today, so let's go ahead and judge some people, I guess. Alright, the first story is from the subreddit r/AmIOverreacting. It reads, "Am I overreacting for asking my wife to stay at her mom's after I caught her putting something odd in my coffee? I'm 46, male, really shaken, and need advice to know if I went too far. My wife is 49, and I've been married for 4 years, together for 7. She's always been so kind, always making my morning coffee, and we've had a good life together. English isn't my first language. I speak it well, but sometimes I struggle to explain feelings, so bear with me. For the past few weeks, I've been feeling off after drinking my coffee. Dizzy, nauseous, sometimes my hands shake. I thought maybe it's work stress or something I ate. But 2 days ago I came home early and saw my wife in the kitchen, dropping some kind of powder into my coffee mug from a small, unmarked vial. It wasn't sugar or creamer. It looked strange, like medicine, or worse. When she saw me, she slipped the vial into her pocket and said it was just a new coffee mix. But her voice was shaky, and she wouldn't look at me. That evening, I asked her calmly to tell me what it was. She said it was a natural supplement to help me feel better, but she couldn't say what it was or why there was no label. I got scared. Those symptoms I've been having aren't normal, and she's never hidden things before. I told her I needed space to think and asked her to stay at her mom's for a few days. She got upset, started crying, and said I was overreacting and breaking her trust. She left last night, and now she's texting me saying it was nothing harmful and I'm making a big deal out of it. I kept the vial, but I'm too nervous to test it. I love her, she's my everything, but I'm scared she might be putting something bad in my coffee. Am I overreacting for asking her to leave? I can't sleep, and I keep checking the locks on the door, feeling paranoid in my own home. Please tell me if I'm wrong here."
OP has left a few updates about the same. Let me read that out first.
Thank you all for your response. You guys really helped me clear my head. I was hesitant, but I called 911, and they said they'll look into it. I'm feeling worse each day, dizzy, weak, and my stomach's still off, so I'm heading to the hospital today to get checked out. My wife keeps texting, begging to come back and saying it was just a herbal energy boost she found online, but she still can't explain why she hid it. I told her to stay at her mom's until I know more. I'm scared and exhausted, but I'll keep you all updated when I get answers. Thanks for making me feel like I'm not going crazy. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm at the hospital. I'm not really feeling very well right now. The doctors ran some tests and said there's something off in my blood work, but they don't know exactly what yet. They're sending samples to a lab, and it'll take a couple days to get results. They told me to stay here for observation because of my symptoms, dizziness, nausea, and shaking. So it's getting worse very quickly. I gave the vial to the police when they stopped by earlier, and they're testing it. They didn't say much, but their serious faces freaked me out. My wife keeps calling and texting, sobbing, saying she's so sorry and it was just some herbal remedy from a friend to help me. But she's still dodging my questions about why she hid it, and it's making my head spin. I told her we can't talk until I'm out of here and know what's going on. She's at her mom's, but her texts are so frantic it's breaking my heart. I love her, but I don't think I can ever trust her ever again. I'm stuck in this hospital bed, and I feel so alone. I'll keep y'all updated when I hear from the lab or police. Okay. Wow. Alright, let me process this for a second, because this is genuinely terrifying. So So first off, and I cannot stress this enough, this guy is absolutely 100% not overreacting. Like, not even close. If anything, I think he's being way too nice about this whole situation. I mean, think about this for a second. Your wife, the person you trust most in the world, has been secretly drugging your coffee for weeks. Weeks. And when you catch her red-handed, she lies to your face about it.
That's not normal behavior. That's scary behavior. And then, when he asks her to stay at her mom's while they figure this out, she has the audacity to say he's breaking her trust? You were literally poisoning your husband's coffee. What trust is left to break?
Look, I've been in relationships where communication breaks down, where people make mistakes, where trust gets damaged. But this isn't a relationship problem. This might be attempted murder. I hate to say that, but that's what this could be. I really hope this guy has family or friends he can lean on right now. Because going through something this traumatic by yourself, I can't even imagine. My advice, don't let her back in the house until you have answers. Don't feel guilty for protecting yourself. And honestly, once you get those test results back, you might need to think seriously about whether this marriage can be saved. Because if someone can do this to you once and lie about it and manipulate you about it, what else are they capable of? Anyway, yeah, that's a heavy one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Alright, let's move on to our next story. This one is from the subreddit r/relationship advice. Alright, quick game update. I'm just checking the inventory to dump any trash so I've got space for materials. I do this like every few minutes because my pocket's turning to a disaster instantly. Also, I grabbed some stuff from the beach, cleared a tree, and dug out a few dirt blocks to carve a little passage from the mansion entrance to the nearest ocean side. While I keep shaping this path, let's read a couple Reddit stories. I think I ruined my and my boyfriend's vacation and I don't know what to do. Hello everyone, my boyfriend is 27, male, and I'm 23, female, are on vacation and we decided to rent a car. It was his idea. He doesn't have a valid driving license for the country we are in, so the only possible way to drive around is me being the only driver for the whole vacation trip. I usually really dislike driving. Of course I do it anyway out of necessity, but driving in a foreign country with no one else who could take my place in case of emergency seemed a bit too much for me. Also, I am very young, so I don't have much experience. So he tried to convince me, and after some arguing, I finally gave in to his requests. Everyone knows sometimes you have to compromise in a relationship. The problem is that once we arrived, I realized it was more difficult than I thought. I got really nervous and I also acted a bit bitchy towards him while driving, out of pure stress, which made me feel really bad. I said I was sorry and everything, but the trip kept getting more and more stressful, with me having to drive for hours to reach the different places he booked and getting so tired both physically and mentally, as I am not used to long drives in the slightest. And because he doesn't drive, he couldn't even take my place. Now he's telling me about how I'll never go anywhere with this attitude of mine, how surprised he is that I am so adverse to trying new things, and how I shouldn't go abroad if I am so uncomfortable with getting out of my comfort zone. All of this because I got so stressed out with all the driving I needed to do. I feel like I made some mistakes. I could have behaved better while driving. I didn't call him names, by the way. I just snapped a few times when he kept messing up with the directions he was giving me. But I also feel like he doesn't realize how demanding he's being and how bad his words hurt. I told him that I compromised with him and decided to rent a car, but he could have compromised too and booked places that weren't so far away from one another. He criticized me a lot for the whole vacation, basically telling me that I'm not made for the life I would like to live. I want to go study abroad and all, because of this car stuff. I also suggested that we bring the car back to the rental company earlier and find another solution. But he said absolutely not. That since I said yes, I should be driving around until the end of the trip. At this point, I don't care who is wrong and who is right. I just want to salvage what's left of the vacation and stop fighting. Have you got some advice for me? How would it be best to apologize for my behavior? Edit. He's not driving because he's not from Europe, and told me that getting an international visa would require an insane amount of annoying bureaucracy. The country I was driving in is Spain. So alright, I'll be honest. This situation sucks, but it's fixable. First off, you didn't ruin the trip. You compromised and agreed to drive, so it's on him to meet you halfway, booking closer destinations or swapping days behind the wheel. When you snapped at him for bad directions, that's normal. Anyone would get frustrated if they were navigating and driving in a foreign country solo. His comment about you not being made for the life you want is a low blow. I'd say apologize for snapping, but then calmly explain how stressed you felt and ask him to adjust plans. Offer a solution, maybe a train or guided tour day, so you can both relax. Remember, vacations are for having fun together. If you won't compromise, maybe suggest splitting up for a day so you both get what you need. Bottom line, own your part, set boundaries on what you can handle, and make sure he respects them. You've got this. Alright, let me read you another story. This one is from the subreddit r/entitled people. It reads, "She friend-zoned me and got mad at me for blocking her after. About 3 years ago, I, 25 male, had feelings for a girl we'll call Megan. She is 22 female, nerdy, into anime, and plays a lot of video games. It was those traits that made me interested in her, since I was also an anime lover/gamer. Over time, that interest turned into genuine attraction. At first, I was hesitant about asking her out because I wasn't sure if she felt the same, but after some encouragement from my friends, I made my move. We met up at a local diner for lunch. The diner was one of those mom and pop places and the food was really good. As we're eating, I finally decided to tell her how I felt. Again, I was hesitant about doing so but went through with it anyway. She seemed receptive at first. She asked me what it was about her that made me interested in her. So I listed a few things. Her interest in anime, her taste in video games, her dark sense of humor, things like that. I didn't want to ask her to be my girlfriend right then and there, so instead I asked if she would be up for getting to know each other more and maybe going on an actual date or two to see where things go from there. She then goes on to apologize and say that she does like me but only as a friend. She said that she didn't want to ruin our friendship and that she didn't want there to be any bad feelings if we did get together but broke up. Hearing that hurt a bit. Part of me wanted to at least try to convince her to change her mind, but the only words that came out of my mouth were, "Okay, I'm fine with that." We chatted for a little while longer before we left the diner and went our separate ways. I tried to reach out a few times after that day to see how she was doing, but I was either left on read or met with one-word replies. So after a while, I stopped reaching out. Fast forward about 2 months, I finally met someone new. We'll call her Sophie. Sophie, 24, was into art and photography. In her own words, she told stories with her art. Whatever piqued her interest wound up as a painting or a sculpture or a framed photograph. She was really good at it, and after a while, those same feelings from months before started to come back. What I didn't expect was for her to feel the same way. I asked her to go on a date with me, and she said yes. Date nights became a regular thing until eventually we made things official. After our 7th date, I asked her if she would like to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. The next day when I told my friends about it, they were stoked, since they were the ones that pushed me to move on and not let my rejection from months ago bother me. A week later, I'm sitting in my room reading a book when I get a messenger notification. I look and see that it's from Megan. I thought that this was kinda weird considering the fact that she hadn't spoken to me in months. Out of curiosity, I opened the message. Her message was basically a short paragraph, talking about how after having some time to think, she decided that she actually did want to be my girlfriend. Her message said that she always had feelings for me and that she was ready to give us a chance. Now things started to look even more weird. I mean, really, after all this time, all the one-worded replies and unread messages, now she has feelings? I took a screenshot of her message and sent it to Sophie. After that, I blocked Megan, and I thought that was the end of it. About 2 days later, Megan shows up to my house and she's extremely upset. As I open the door, she starts ripping me a new one. telling me how horrible I am for blocking her after she confessed her feelings for me. I told her that she has no right to be upset about anything, considering the fact that she was the one who rejected me and said that we would never be a thing. She then tries to guilt trip me, asking me if her feelings for me meant anything. I then said, where were those feelings when I was single? I told her that she doesn't get to switch up now that she sees me with someone else, and then get upset at me for not going along with it. I told her to have a nice day and then shut the door. Our friend group is divided on this, and I'm starting to question if I did the right thing or not. I was just a bit upset. It felt like she expected me to just ditch my girlfriend for her just because she changed her mind. What do you guys think?
Oh boy. This one's a roller coaster.
First, Megan friend zones him. Fair enough, it happens. She says, just friends, then ghosts him with one-word replies. He moves on, starts a legit relationship with Sophie. All good. Then out of nowhere, Megan pops back up after he's happy with someone else, confessing feelings she conveniently remembered. and she expects him to drop everything and run back to her? Nope. Blocking her was the right move. She rejected him, then got to ghosting, then tried to rewrite history when it suited her. That's classic entitled behavior. She doesn't get a veto on his life just because she had second thoughts. I feel for Megan. Unrequited feelings suck. But you can't string someone along, then spring a confession once it's too late. And then guilt them when they don't jump. That's not fair. Now, her showing up at his door and crying foul, that's extra. If she wanted closure, she should have handled it privately. No dramatic home visits. So to OP, you did right by Sophie and by yourself. Stand firm. If Megan wants respect, she needs to respect your choices and the fact that you moved on. Your friend group can argue, but anyone worth having on your side will see that you didn't owe Megan any second chances once she'd decided you were just a friend. Relationships aren't a replay button. You press play on someone new, you can't rewind back to someone who hit stop. That's my take. Let me know if you guys disagree. But honestly, I'd keep the door closed on that drama.
Alright, I'm trying to box this zombie villager in without,
accidentally deleting him from existence. Trap first, panic later. If I can keep him alive in here, I can do the whole weakness splash plus golden apple combo and turn him back into a normal guy for cheap trades. That's future me's emerald discount. Laughs. Moving on to the fourth story of today. This one is from the subreddit r/AmIOverreacting. It reads, am I overreacting? Husband told me he owns me. I want out. Last night my husband and I were getting our kids ready for bed. While doing so, he randomly said, your body is my possession. I think he was checking me out, but I also thought he was joking, but he wasn't. So I responded with, no, I'm not something you own. I'm your wife. And he continued to reiterate what he said and went on and on about how he has ownership over me, my body, and how it says so in the Bible. I think he is misinterpreting scripture, but he was adamant and said he could show me. He never showed me, but I stopped feeding into the conversation and decided to overlook and move on since he wasn't letting up on the topic. Now that I've sat with his thoughts, I'm shocked at his revelation. He's never said this before, but lately he has been saying some crazy things that, according to my own beliefs, do not align with the normal view on marriage and women in general. On top of this, he's been deep diving into my phone lately and digging into everything, such as text messages between myself and my girlfriends and even my family. He's also digging into all of my socials and searching through my liked photos, looking to see who all is liking my own photos, and obviously all of my social media messages, which is fine. I've been faithful and have nothing to hide, but I'm living under this microscope now. I'm beginning to feel like I don't know who he is or who I am. He makes me feel like I have zero autonomy and I just want to be my own person. Sorry for the vent session. I've been overwhelmed, high anxiety, and feel suffocated. I would just like my own freedom, privacy, and for him to trust me. To add, yes, we have had the appropriate conversations. We've also tried counseling for some of these reasons and more, but it was one session and there was a conflict of interest because it was his family member. He doesn't want to see anyone else to counsel us because he says he doesn't want anyone to know the real him. So we haven't been back to counseling in any form in 1 to 2 months, even though I've been pushing for it. For this reason and more, I want to step away from my marriage. But am I overreacting?
Oh man.
First off, when he says your body is my possession, that's not playful banter. That's control. Yes, the Bible talks about marriage being a partnership, but nowhere does it say one person owns another like property. He's twisting scripture to justify owning you. That's a major red flag. And now he's digging through your phone, stalking your social media likes, interrogating your texts. That's not trust, that's surveillance. He's treating you like a criminal instead of a partner. You deserve privacy and autonomy, not a life under a microscope. You already tried counseling, and he shut it down because he doesn't want anyone to know the real him. That's gaslighting. He doesn't get to hide behind secrecy when he's imposing these toxic beliefs on you. I know it's hard. This is the person you married, and you have kids together. But your feelings of suffocation and anxiety are valid. You cannot settle for a marriage where you're treated like property. My advice? You need support and safety first. Reach out to a trusted friend, your family, or a domestic abuse hotline. Document his behaviors in case things escalate. And seriously consider legal advice regarding separation and custody if you decide to leave. This isn't overreacting. This is self-preservation. You deserve so much better than this. And you absolutely can make it out of this marriage stronger and more whole than ever. Alright, quick reset for tomorrow. I'm grabbing what I need from the chest, dumping whatever junk I don't, and doing a quick furnace check so they're not smelting like, 3 cobblestone for no reason. Keeping the inventory clean now saves me from the "why is my backpack full of sticks and 1 dirt" meltdown later. Okay, back to stories. Alright, time to move on to the last story for today. This one is pretty messed up. I have gone through this once. Let me read that out for you. The fiance, 26, female. Not happy to find out I, 26 male, was a clown? Throwaway account, but this is such a specific situation that I'm certain she'll see it, but my friends won't. So some context. I am a pretty successful graphic designer. I was already working from home for a lot of projects for a long time before everyone started self-quarantining and practicing social distancing. While I am definitely not part of the essential workforce, I have still managed to find some work to keep me busy. My fiancé has been furloughed from work, and as such has been staying home with me, and we've been spending a lot of quality time together. One night, we were having fun and joking together, and I jokingly said that everyone does weird things for money when they're in school, like start an Etsy or sell feet pics. She joked back and fake accused me of selling drugs. I told her it wasn't anything illegal, illicit, nothing related to sex or drugs, but then accidentally let it slip that it was just embarrassing to me personally. And then after a second, she stopped laughing because it became real. We talked about it, and I said I didn't want to talk about it because it's super embarrassing and isn't who I am at all. She said that she understood and gave me my space for a couple of days. But after that couple of days, she seemed uncomfortable, and when I asked her about it, she admitted she was concerned about what I did for money. I told her it wasn't anything huge, I really just didn't want to talk about it, and I wished her to respect that and to trust me. But I could tell her not knowing was beginning to genuinely upset her. That night, I thought long and hard that this is the woman I want to marry, and I should be open about my past. So I relented and told her the truth. I used to be a clown. She was unhappy that it was something I hid from her, but it was a period of my life over the course of 2.5 months and approximately 12 parties. She has been cold to me since, and that really sucks because we have been spending a lot of time together and we aren't really talking as much as we have been. From what I understand, she's probably more upset that I had to be pressured to tell her than admit it to her of my own volition, and I think I may have violated her trust.
Honestly, the clown thing just never came up, because who talks about their part-time jobs from almost 5 years ago? It's not on my resume, and it was before we started dating, but I did end up sitting down with her and telling her everything. Now, I'm so scared that it was a mistake because of how she's acting now. She hasn't told anyone, and though we haven't really argued either, but now I'm wondering if I'm just reading into how she's acting and obsessing over this new piece of information I put into her world. It feels like there's a new distance between us. Now I wasn't hiding the fact that I was a semi-professional clown out of malice. I wasn't part of any unions or anything, just kind of a performer for hire, but more out of embarrassment, because it's far and away from the type of work I do and the person I am today. Honestly, it's not a dark period of my life or anything, and I think the story itself is interesting. I'm one of those types that thinks some bad decisions can make good stories, to a degree. But it's not something I like to talk about, because while it is an objectively fun story, it doesn't have a particularly good ending. My act was very specific and weird. Only 2 or 3 friends know about it, I think, because they were at the party where I got the idea to perform as a clown for money. And I literally just used the same costume from that party for my acts. All things considered, I was pretty successful for what amounted to some weekend gigs. I didn't want it to be something weird that would follow me for the rest of my life, so I was secretive about it for those couple of months. I was always paid in cash, never check, and this was before electronic payments were huge, as in I didn't have Venmo or do PayPal. Surprisingly, made a few $1,000s that I had put towards some of the fun things I own. Game systems, electric skateboard, etc. But I stopped when that terrifying clown hoax of 2016 was happening and heard that people were getting ready to gang up and beat up clowns. So I thought it was best to cash out and hang up the clown costume, so to speak. Also, because I know it'll be asked, back in uni I was an athlete as well. Kind of. I was part of a martial arts club, where we would perform martial arts choreography at certain school events. It was kind of like a color guard, but with punching. When I told fiancé this during our first few months dating, she made fun of me relentlessly for days. But she ultimately thought it was kind of cool. Anyway, I put that athleticism in my act, where I'd break boards and do some parkour. But I'd also do some clown stuff, like smack myself in the face with whipped cream in a dollar store pie crust, and talk in a stupid voice, and trip. It was fun because I was making little kids laugh and impressing them more than I was scaring them. Sometimes I'd get a parent involved and have them steal my clown nose and run away. I'd trip and fall chasing them at first, which would set up the parkour chase scene of my act after I put some distance between us. By the way, it's hard to convince big dads that yes, I will absolutely catch up to you and it will be much faster than you think. The kids love the act, and I learned I would generally get paid more if I involved the family, with plenty of warning beforehand of what I was capable of. I never ever advertised this. This was just word of mouth, and I think all of my clients knew each other in some way, and knew me as basically a friend of a friend. So OP has left some update on this. Let me read that out first. Update. Fiancé and I sat down and talked about it. I told her about this post because I was genuinely concerned about what I should do in this situation. And I have a bad habit of joking about bad situations sometimes. But we had a civil discussion. She told me that the reason she was acting distant was because, like some of you said, she thought I was lying about the clown thing. The reason I was embarrassed about it is because I didn't fully commit to it. No matter how it is phrased, telling someone you were a party clown for 3 months either gets met with, "Wow, that's cool," or "Holy crap, what a lie." And she, like so many of you, went with the latter. So we talked about it like adults. I calmly explained that I was not lying and that the story is stupid and inconsequential, but the circumstance in general of being a clown from start to finish is unbelievable in a way. I got the idea of being a clown at a costume party when a former friend told a drunk me he thought my costume was fun and that I should be a clown for his nephew's birthday party. I thought he was joking until he actually contacted me about it the next Saturday and said he'd pay me $100 to $200 for the whole day. Being 21, that's a lot of scratch for being an idiot for a bit, so I did it. And then it just turned into a thing.
I told her I stopped being a clown because I didn't want it to get out that I was one so publicly, and it was around the time I kept seeing posts on Twitter and Tumblr about people getting together to go hunt clowns. And I felt that even if it was fake, the chance of it being real and it happening to me was not really one I wanted to take. It was fun for a bit. If I had been a clown for like half a year, I'd probably tell more people about it. But doing it for a short period of time comes off as kind of a lie. If you need proof, literally read half of the comments on this post. My fiancé is not crazy and high maintenance. She's normal. A little wild sometimes and kind of cooped up here, but I love her all the same. Anyway, she believes me, which I'm grateful for. I apologized for not telling her sooner, and she apologized for pressing me to talk about something so clearly, weirdly polarizing. Like really, this wasn't so much a post asking you all to take sides in the matter like you are all so seemingly ready to do, but more like asking advice on what I should do to try and bridge the gap in communication. She still seems to have some reservations, so I promised her that I would try and do my act for her in the park when the quarantine is lifted. She asked me to do it for her now, but I told her our apartment is too small and filled with things that might break. I talked to her in my clown voice and she hated it because she said it, in her words, sounds like Goofy on speed. Thank you, everyone. Oh man. This one's actually kind of sweet. But also, there's some stuff here we need to unpack. So first off, let me just say, being a clown is actually kind of awesome. Like, this dude was out here doing parkour, breaking boards, making kids laugh, and getting paid decent money for it. That's entrepreneurial as hell. The fact that he's embarrassed about this is honestly kind of sad. But here's where I start having issues with this whole situation. If your partner's first reaction to learning something personal about you is to mock you for days, of course you're going to be hesitant to share other potentially embarrassing stuff. That's not building trust. That's teaching someone to keep secrets. And, I get why she was upset about him not telling her initially. The build-up definitely made it seem like it was something way worse than it was. I will say I appreciate that they actually sat down and talked about it like adults. And the fact that she read this post and the comments, and they had a real conversation about how her past reactions might have influenced his reluctance to share, that's actually really mature. My takeaway here is that both of them learned something important. She learned that if you mock your partner for sharing personal stuff, they're going to stop sharing. And he learned that sometimes the build-up and secrecy makes things seem way worse than they are. The fact that she wants to see his act when quarantine lifts is actually really sweet, and that they can laugh about it now is a good sign for their relationship. This whole thing just reminds me that we all have weird chapters in our lives, and the people who love us should celebrate those chapters, not make us feel ashamed of them. Being a clown isn't embarrassing. It's actually kind of awesome. Plus, now she has the best how we almost broke up story ever. Well, he wouldn't tell me he used to be a clown. Alright, well, that's probably enough Reddit drama for today. And look at that, we actually got some decent progress on this fish farm thing. Thanks for hanging out with me while I built this mess. I know my Minecraft skills aren't exactly impressive, but hopefully the stories were entertaining at least. If you enjoyed this, you know what to do. Subscribe if you want, I guess. No pressure though. I'll probably be back in like few days with more stories and more mediocre building. And hey, let me know in the comments what you think about these stories, or if you have any building tips, because clearly I need help. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.